Hello everyone and welcome back to Rebel Brick. Today we're gonna go over some of the Mandalorian sets here. I'm hoping I have all the minifigures here, but I don't think I do, because although I see Grogu here and I can't remember her name, the young lady that they had for the mechanic. Oh, the only one I don't have is the Mandalorian himself. So I'll put her there, and I was very happy when we got to see this guy as a figure. What was it, BD1? And he was actually from, actually I think he's in the current Star Wars. It was Fallen Order, and I'm trying to think. I think it's Survivor now. That was kind of a neat character. I did play the game. I haven't played the second one yet, but I'm sure I'm going to get to it at some point. I've been kind of busy. Work's been kind of keeping me busy, and then trying to get the videos out for you guys so we can spend some time together. But we do have BD1 here. We got a little Grogu, always cute and popular. In some of my training documents, I actually got him on a Cushman, or on kind of like I'll say a Cushman cart, kind of like a little maintenance cart or whatever. So we're going to look over the modified Naboo Starfighter, and it's getting a little dusty because it's been sitting there, unfortunately. The Razor Crest. The Razor Crest does have both figures in there. I do know that because I can see them in here. First, because it's already right here, we'll kind of cover our N1 Starfighter. It is kind of interesting. I actually have in pieces. I had the old N1 Starfighter. That was actually a nice set. I think they have come out with at least one, if not two other versions. And unfortunately, I just was not able to pick those up at the time. I was in the middle of doing other things, so I just don't have that in my great collection of many miscellaneous things. I really do like the Star Wars stuff. I like the story. I like the ideas. Star Wars to me is one of those things of, you can be anywhere from a medievalish time to very futuristic, and anywhere in between. So it is a little bit different take. They did expand this, so if I lift this up, they actually have a spot in here, and I think it should actually be in here. I'm looking and I don't see it. This has all been expanded, and I thought they had a spot where you could put like a person in carbonite or something like that. And that's what I thought we were able to do. I don't see it in here, so maybe I'm wrong. This has been sitting right next to some of my Batman stuff. It was the best spot I had that I could put it. So the silliness that goes on in my small little city. I do not have as much room as I really wish I had. It is interesting that, you know, we got like an extra head gasket here or so. To me, that looks like a pan filter for the old air filters from cars and all that stuff. You know, tuning up cars and that from years and years ago. Which, you know, George Lucas was always a big kind of car nut anyway, so to have something like that would probably really fit anyhow. So I don't fasten this too well in there, so that way I can hopefully pop this out without things falling off. Yep, and that's what I was afraid was going to happen. So this really is just on the one side, so doing it that way is nice, but every once in a while, if you're pulling it off and trying to stick it back on there, sometimes it kind of comes apart. That's what I was trying to be kind of careful about. So this is our blasters. The engines look kind of neat. That was an interesting design as we were doing those. I'll flip this over. So if this was our ion engines, like what we have for our TIE fighters, which is what they stand for, twin ion engine, looks almost like we would have a couple small ions here, as well as the big thrust right there. Chances are they were probably using this more like an exhaust, kind of like, you know, coming out of your car. And we got that on both sides. Plus they actually have an extra thruster underneath there. give him a little extra speed. I think that's that booster that they were showing in the show, where there's Grogu, he's kind of tapping and goes no, and taps again and no, and taps the third time, fine, one more time, and then he just kind of zoom out, which was very cute, and I kind of like that. So I like what Dave Filoni and Disney had done for The Mandalorian. It seems to me very much like a Western set out in space. I have no problems with that. Hopefully they'll keep it going, see how things go. I think they're talking about another season. But this set is really nice. When I saw that they were coming out with this, I really wanted to pick it up, so I had. I was happy that we had our mechanic, so I put her in there. I'll put her back in there so I don't lose her. And keeping her together with BD1, and I believe that is exactly what they called that droid in there. So if it's BD1, that makes me wonder if at some point we're not going to see in Jedi Survivor him meet up with her and maybe leave BD1 with her. Because obviously, like a lot of things, you can't have the same droid named in two different places, or not typically. And I like to keep Grogu here because really Grogu was meant to be in there. I don't remember where I put the Mandalorian. I really do apologize for that, and you know, that's kind of on me, but so I'll put Grogu there for a moment. This is a nice little build. It is a little bit longer than the Razor Crest, so if I put the Razor Crest right underneath it, I'll move it up here a little bit more, so hopefully this works. Our modified N1 is a little bit longer. Our tail spine here, which originally they were saying would actually plug into the system to charge up because it was more of an electric as well, or maybe it was a hybrid, I don't know. But yeah, it does actually sit a little bit longer, so I was trying to figure out where I could put it so I knew I didn't knock any parts off, and that's why I put it where I had. So I'll kind of swap these out, hopefully without knocking the sides off of my wall here. Trying to keep it so you guys aren't seeing my messy area with my bunnies and all that, which they're making some noises here tonight. I hear one kind of scratching at some of the wood there. I think they're trying to chew their way out. Alright, so with this being the Razor Crest, we have the Mandalorian holding Grogu, and we have, I believe it's Grief, and I cannot think of his last name. Actually, the actor that played this gentleman, when I see him, I think of him playing Apollo Creed from from the old Rocky movies. Very happy to see him in the series. Thought he was a very good actor, very good addition to their group. Hopefully they can get their whole group together again. I think it worked well. I know that there have been a couple side characters that have been in there and people weren't overly happy with, which I could kind of understand at points, but I'm having a hard time trying to get them to sit in there correctly. Alright, and then this back piece, I'm trying to think if that actually sat in there correctly or not. I think it's actually hinged. So, and yes it is. So this is not supposed to pull out, that's actually hinged. Those are on those movable hinges here. So I can move it like here, and actually thinking about it, I could put a couple weapons on there. So let me tilt this up so you can see that a little bit better. So we have the little clips here so we could actually store a couple weapons, or if you were trying to store your missiles. But if you remember me saying this before, I usually don't like keeping the missiles on there, so usually I'll take the missiles and I just put them off to the side. So just how I am, I don't really prefer the shooters and all that stuff. Just not a real big deal for me. And then this, it does have the, and it does have those clips on here, so it can link up there. And I need to get Grogu back in here. Alright, play nice, guys. We're trying to show this off for everybody. Alright, the engines, I do believe the engine's actually in my oldest daughter's home. Alright, looking at the build, I do remember the engines having been able to kind of tilt. I'm just trying to remember how they did that. Maybe I'm wrong. Wait a minute. No, I don't think they did tilt. I'm thinking of the other ship that I was using for our Lego comic that had the engines that tilted. Not this. I don't know why I'm thinking of that. Maybe I've watched too many episodes of Firefly. And somehow I lost one of the landing struts. I think that's probably sitting where I had this. I had some interference here. The nice thing is this does open up very nicely. So if anybody's still able to get this and you really wanted to have this, everything opens up very nicely so you can look inside here. So as you can see, we actually have a speeder trooper and we have an IG unit on the inside. So I don't know how well you can see that in there. I'm hoping you can see it pretty good. But if we open this side up, you can see everything on the inside here. This is the ramp that you would actually have come down if you were on that side. I can put this up here and I can put that up and it kind of folds pretty good. But this would be your door. And if I flip it around to the other side and the ramp, and I heard something go wiggle loose, and try and get this down here correctly without it having issues. And obviously I don't think something like being stored how it was being stored. Regrettably, I think my wife was putting things next to it and inadvertently kind of knocked it a little bit. I'm not going to blame her. Alright, so by opening up this side, we see that we have the bed there, and if you remember, he kind of opened up a little panel so you could get into the bed. We actually have two people in carbonite sitting right here, and it's still fairly open. So if you were going to use this as an actual transport or something like that, that would work very well as well. I don't think I'm going to change it and make it into a transport like I probably could. That's why I took that other ship and I did that. I'm still trying to figure out exactly where I want to stay. I've got a ton of different Star Wars ships and I love so many of them. I love the idea of all the different ships that I have for Star Wars and playing it in role-playing games and that. I remember buying some of the books just because they had the different ships and I could add those into our game. Let's see here. Let's see, the ladder should work to go up here somewhere, but I don't actually see a ladder physically in there, and I'm trying to remember, I don't think there was an actual ladder, but if you do remember in the show, they had a ladder for the Mandalorian and anybody else to actually climb up inside. So I'm opening up the other doors on the other side here. My IG unit is starting to falter around in here, and looking at this, because this is all kind of Technic pieces holding this together, the bottom to the top and the back. There is no ladder. Of course, the way it's laid out, it's not like there's much room for there to be a ladder, but I really liked how this was built. I think it was very well done. Lego does do a really good job most of the time. If I bash anyone on how they make things or whatever, usually it's third parties, and I look at it in this regard, and I'll say it this way. I think it's because we have companies that are not as skilled as what Lego has figured out throughout the years, because Lego's been doing this stuff for many years, and in my viewpoint, it really is one of the better companies at doing this because they have that experience. We do have shooters right here, so I think I've got missiles, hopefully without putting my head in here, because this isn't about me, this is about showing you what we have going on. And so if you notice, this comes up, and if I push that down, then the shooter goes. The reason why I don't like the shooters is somebody taps these, and next thing you know, I have the shooters on the floor and stepping on them, and I don't really like doing that. I don't want to break anything. But the build is great. I'm sure you've seen plenty of reviews. These are my takes on it. We have some new Star Wars stuff coming out. A lot of it looks really good, really interesting. I know that there's one, it's not a Star Wars one, it's actually for Marvels. I think it's for the Marvels. Sounds like it's a little on the steeper side. Um, but I was watching Jang Brick, and he had his review, and he made a comment in there that I kind of agree with. It does look like it's a shuttle that would work very well for like a Star Trek setting. So, and that part of my geekiness and everything else, I might pick it up and I might take those little wings that they have off and try and see if I can't get some engines on the side if I ever pick that up. I do actually have, when they were doing the Hasbro was doing the Creo series, and you're going to hear my chair roll. When they were doing the Star Trek, I did pick up some of that stuff. So, and because it's just out of view, here was their shuttle. And actually, I kind of modified it a little bit. They had a trap door on the bottom. I changed that up because it really did not work for me as well. And it's just my silliness in there. We have Spock in here, and these were extra pieces, so I left those on there. You know, Creo did come up with a couple interesting things, and this is a light in the back. Trying to see if I can't get it to go on. And yep, it does go on. So if I flip this open, I don't know if you guys can see it very well, but there is a light that actually goes on in there. In the movie, Spock actually just dropped down from there, which was kind of cool, but trying to get them in there, you know, the problem with Creo ones are their legs keep splitting apart, so trying to get them to actually sit in there and hold in there just does not work as well. So I just did the best I could. We have Spock there, we have Captain Kirk right here, because he was actually, I'm trying to think, looking at the hair, I don't think that's Captain Kirk. I think that was Chekhov. I think that was Chekhov in there, and I think it was Spock back there, because this was the second movie with the kind of the Wrath of Khan take from the last reboot of Star Trek. So, like I said, I love a lot of the science fiction stuff. Star Wars, yes, because we have the war and the interesting parts of how everything is. Star Trek, because for the most part it was a very nice outlook in what our possible human future could be. I like how the ships were, because it was something I grew up with. But it's just me rambling on. Let me know what you think. I mean, I talk to you guys, and I am very appreciative of everybody that watches. I'm just a single voice in the sea of voices out there, and I do really appreciate everybody that spends time listening to what I have to say and all that. And you know, some days I'm doing this and I'm tired, and I've heard myself that way, and you know, but it's for the fun of doing this stuff. Like I've said, these are kind of models to me. I don't typically run around the house and fly them like a little kid. Although I'm sure if I did, my wife would definitely have a good laugh at me, and probably my daughters would too. But it is fun to have set pieces, especially if I'm doing role-playing games. I could actually throw these out there and say, hey, this is what you see, and that as well. And Lego actually does a better job at having things at scale more than what my little, you know, I've got. I should probably show maybe some of them. You'll have a small set piece, but the ship will be this big, and that'll be your X-wing in comparison to your X-wing actually being about this size. So, you know, you get a little bit better representation as to how things are. The only thing is we play on the same pool table I'm using this as, and I've got a bunch of Legos over there. So it's just the silliness of it all. Again, thank you for visiting today. Thank you for watching Rebel Brick. Hope you have a good day, and keep bricking.